Live from New York, you're watching News Always On. I'm Kessyl. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin has become one. This is a cover this morning of Time magazine. As you can see in a picture that's going to show, it sums up in a single image. It is a merge of Trump and Putin's face. As seen on the cover, Trump's distinctive blonde hair, wispy eyebrows, and pursed lip is merged with Putin's nose and blue eyes. Time said in a statement that the stunning photo illustration is by visual artist Nancy Berson and is meant to represent this particular moment in the U.S. foreign policy, following the pair's recent meeting in Helsinki, Finland. Time said in its cover story, a year and a half into his presidency, Trump's puzzling affinity for Putin has yet to be explained. To represent that conflict, Berson merged the faces of Trump and Putin into a still image and video, which morphs between the shifting appearances of the two world leaders. This morning, the president still predicts he and Putin will have a good relationship. He has faced heavy criticism from Democrats and Republicans alike for his performance at the meeting with Putin, where he publicly sided with the Russian president over U.S. intelligence agencies' assessment that the Russians interfered in the 2016 presidential election. Since coming back home from Finland, the president has changed his messaging and now says he holds Putin personally responsible for election meddling and believes the assessment of government intelligence agencies. Yesterday's ESPYS Awards honors more than 140 sister survivors of Larry Nassar's abuse. The women who spoke out against the abuse by Larry Nassar stood together in a powerful and solemn closing to show that highlighting the past year's top athletes and moments in sport. Let's listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing every survivor, an army that has come here tonight to be heard. Please welcome to the stage the recipients of the 2018 Arthur Ashe Award for Courage.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ESPN and the Arthur Ashe family for honoring survivors of sexual abuse. It is a privilege to stand up here with my sister survivors as we represent hundreds more who are not with us tonight. The abuse of Larry Nassar began 30 years ago with me. For 30 years, people at the United States Olympic Committee, USA Gymnastics, and Michigan State University all placed money and medals above the safety of child athletes. 30 years until the work of Detective Lieutenant Andrea Mumford of the Michigan State Police Department and Angela Povolitis, the Assistant Attorney General, who prosecuted the case, finally putting our abuser away for life.
(1997), 1998, 1999, 2000, 2004, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. These were the years we spoke up about Larry Nassar's abuse. All we needed was one adult to have the integrity to stand between us and Larry Nassar. If just one adult had listened, believed, and acted, the people standing before you on this stage would have never met him. Too often, abusers and enablers perpetuate suffering by making survivors feel that their truth doesn't matter. To all the survivors out there, don't let anyone rewrite your story. Your truth does matter, you matter, and you are not alone.
The award ceremony is ESPN's annual celebration for all things sports. If you have missed the morning newscast, you can catch it right here. An Olympic bronze medalist figure skater was stabbed to death on Thursday in Kazakhstan. Dennis Tan, who is 25 this year, was knifed during a struggle with two men he had caught trying to steal the mirrors on his car. Police have opened a murder investigation. The 25-year-old was Kazakhstan's first Olympic medalist in figure skating when he won bronze in 2014 in Sochi, Russia. The International Skating Union took the news to Twitter by sending their condolences. It stated, quote, "Our heartfelt condolences go out to Dennis' family, friends, and fans across the world." International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach said in a statement, quote, "Dennis Tan was a great athlete and a great ambassador for his sport, a warm personality and a charming man. Such a tragedy to lose him at such a young age." Tan did compete in Pyeongchang this past winter, but he was fighting injuries and placed 27th. American figure skater Adam Rippon also took to Twitter saying, "My skating friend passed away today. He was so kind to everyone and had a huge inspiration to me and so many other people." Murdered in the streets of Kazakhstan, Dennis, thank you for showing us how to be a champion. Your time with us was way too short. Love you forever. During a cabinet meeting at the White House yesterday, President Trump brought up possible tariffs on imported vehicles as he spoke about trade negotiations in Washington with the European Union next week. Here is more.
On July 25th, the leaders of the European Union will be coming to see us at the White House. And as you know, I've made no bones about it. They have massive trade barriers where our farmers can't sell there for the most part. They have other barriers on cars and lots of other things, even medical equipment, where it's very, very difficult to sell into the European Union. And they're going to be coming on July 25th to negotiate with us. We said if we don't negotiate something fair, then we have tremendous retribution, which we don't want to use, but we have tremendous powers. You have to, including cars. Cars is the big one. And you know what we're talking about with respect to cars and tariffs on cars. And they know better than you do. They know better than all of us do what that means. So they're going to come and they're going to try and negotiate a deal.
I traveled to Pyongyang for the third time. We made progress on some issues. There's a lot of work to do. It may take some time to get where we need to go, but all of this will be taking place against the backdrop of continued enforcement of the existing sanctions. The North Koreans reaffirmed their commitment to denuclearize. We're making progress along the border to get the return of remains, a very important issue for those families. We think in the next couple of weeks we'll have the first remains returned. That's the commitment. So progress certainly being made there. Still a fair amount of work to do, but a very hopeful place that we find ourselves with making this strategic change for North Korea and giving them an opportunity for a brighter future for their people.
The White House says President Trump believes Russia would target U.S. elections again, saying the threat still exists. That comes hours after Trump appeared to deny Russia was still targeting the United States. Here is more.
I had a chance to speak with the president after his comments, and the president said thank you very much and was saying no to answering questions. The president and his administration are working very hard to make sure that Russia is unable to meddle in our elections. The president will be traveling to Kansas City, Missouri next Tuesday. We certainly believe that we are taking steps to make sure they can't do it again, unlike previous administrations. This president is actually taking bold action and reform to make sure it doesn't happen again, but he does believe that they would target certainly U.S. elections again. July 24th, he will address the veterans. The president thinks that we have to focus on securing our election integrity in our election systems, which is why he has spent so much time with his administration making sure that this doesn't happen again. Let's not forget that this didn't happen under President Trump's watch. This happened under the Obama administration. We're taking steps. We're making bold reforms to try to fix this and make sure it never happens again, because we take it seriously and because we recognize that our election system are incredibly important and is certainly a cornerstone of our democracy. Certainly, as the president said, a number of issues were raised, including Syrian humanitarian aid, Iran's nuclear ambition, Israeli security, North Korean denuclearization, Ukraine and the occupation of Crimea, reducing Russian and U.S. nuclear arsenals, and of course, your favorite topic, Russia's interference in our elections. All of these issues were talked about. This is the beginning of the dialogue with Russia and our administration and theirs, and we're going to continue working through those things. But those were all of the topics, and certainly probably others that were covered. Look, I think the president, as he has said many times before, has been tougher on Russia than anybody. I think you can see that in all of the actions that he's taken, whether it was a plant that was closed due to aluminum and steel tariffs that were put in place by this president. The Treasury Department has issued new sanctions on numerous individuals and entities in Russia. The president has continued sanctions on Russia's malicious cyber activity in response to election hacking. We've expelled 60 Russian operatives from the United States and closed 2 consulates. President Trump issued 4 statements condemning Russia's poisoning of UK citizens on UK soil, authorized the sale of lethal aid to Ukraine, authorized military strikes against the Assad regime in Syria, and has repeatedly called out Russia's actions, exporting energy to our allies in Eastern Europe. Look, the president has been extremely tough on Russia, and to say anything different is just not true. But just to clarify, I know that there was massive media hysteria yesterday over confusion between that individual and a White House staffer, which I think shows, frankly, the outrageousness and the just desire to find the negative in everything that this president does. Just because somebody was simply redheaded, they were accused of being some sort of spy for Russia. I think that this has gotten totally out of control. You guys need to take a little bit of a step back, slow down, and quit going after the Trump administration on every single thing that takes place. Certainly that's an option on the table that the president is considering, but we are in the investigation process right now, and we'll let you know when we have an announcement. Make sure it never happens again, because we take it seriously. The president is focused on long-term economic principles. We have one of the strongest economies that we've had in decades. He continues to look for ways to help protect American workers, and he's going to continue to do that on a number of different fronts in a number of different ways. Again, this is short-term, and the president hopes to open up a number of different markets and to create a more playing trade field across the globe. Thanks so much.
That is all the time we have for today, and here's the fun fact. The British Open is officially called the Open Championship, or simply the Open. The reason is because it was the first Open Championship. Basically, only Americans call it the British Open because they need to differentiate it from the US Open. For News Always On, I'm Kessyl, and I will see you tomorrow.